Austin versus small town Central Texas living. Which one's right for you? Thinking of moving to the Central Texas area, but you don't know whether to move to Austin or a small suburb or city around the Austin area. Well, in this video, we're going to be diving into the real pros and cons of both and to see which one, well, might fit your lifestyle. So before we continue, thanks again for coming into our Living in Central Texas channel. My name is Jacob Martinez here, located in the Central Texas Killeen Temple area, and we're here to help you buy or sell if you're moving to or from the Killeen Central Texas area. Well, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's continue, okay, talking about these areas, the pros and cons. So first, we're going to be talking about life in the big city, the pros and cons, and then we're going to be talking about Central Texas cities, the suburbs around it, and then we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of those, and then we're going to see which one will fit your lifestyle. So the city of Austin, right? Big city perks, right? A pro would be that the Austin job market is fire, especially in tech, healthcare, and education. Companies like Tesla, Apple, and Dell are making the city their playground. This is very true. Austin is known pretty much at this point as Silicon Valley #2. All the technology is coming. They're leaving other states like California. They're coming into Texas. And so in the Austin area, they are providing a lot of incentives and jobs. So the economy there, and Austin being one of the biggest cities of the nation, well, the economy there is solid. That is a very good pro. You're always going to find a good economy. The con, however, would be for us to be real, right? Let's be real. Austin's popularity has a price, and homes are pricier and daily expenses keep going up. This is the reality, right? People want to live in a big city where everything's happening and great, but all of that does come at a price. Some of these houses in the area that you're buying in Austin, you can buy a home in Austin for $600,000, $700,000, which is very basic. But if you go to the other surrounding areas, what you could get for that same price is a whole lot more. So that's just the reality. Now, pro number 2 of living in Austin would be that there's vibrant culture and entertainment. So they don't call it live music capital of the world for nothing. From South by Southwest to your neighborhood coffee shop, there's always some type of show going on, right? South by Southwest is very big, national recognized, where they bring a lot of music, country music, pop, rap, rock, where people are entertained. And the logo of Austin is Keep Austin Weird, because you have a lot of these cultures that are mixed there, and they're all providing all these entertainment for everyone. The bad part, a con, would be traffic troubles. Commuting can be a nightmare. On I-35 has become a big parking lot at rush hour, which means that in the afternoon, I-35, you can be stuck in traffic for up to an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And if you're coming from the big cities like Los Angeles or even New York, you're probably going to be saying, well, that's normal. But really, when we're comparing Austin to the local here, Central Texas market, Central Texas area, that shouldn't be that way, right? It's because the high population and the infrastructure in Austin cannot sustain it. It's always under development. The pro number 3, the outdoor lifestyle. If you love paddleboarding, hiking, or people watching at Barton Springs, Austin's got you. The city is packed with parks, lakes, and trails. This is true, right? Like Zilker Park. You have the rivers downtown. So you have a lot of people that are always canoeing, and they're always enjoying those outdoor activities, right? You have people swimming and all that stuff. But the problem, a con of Austin that we're going to see is job competition. So even though we spoke earlier that there are jobs, and yes, there are, but there's also stiff competition, especially in the tech and media sector. Even though it's a great place for you to live, to be entertained, and have a great lifestyle, in order for you to make that happen, you're going to have to compete with others that are willing to do the same, because others are wanting to also live in that area, right? And also have that lifestyle. So you are going to have some competition when it comes to those type of things. Now, the educational opportunities, home to the University of Texas at Austin, right? UT. This city isn't just about fun, it's a hub for higher education, right? The University of Texas in Austin is a national and I think even a worldwide recognized university, which is great for any type of master's, bachelor's, or even doctorate's degree that you may want to receive, right? A con of Austin would be urban issues, right? Like any big city, expect some growing pains, right? Not just with the population, not just with development, but you're also going to have growing pains from crowding to crime in certain areas. It's a give and take. You want to live in the big lifestyle, in the big city, you want to have all the accommodations and all that. That's great, but just remember, there's also areas that may not be so good, and so you may want to steer clear from those sections. Now, a last pro that we have here would be diverse and inclusive community. Like I said before, people from all over the world call Austin home, making it one of the most electric and accepting places in Texas. So when you compare Texas, right, when you compare Austin to the rest of Texas, Austin is pretty much the most liberal. If we were to say that, right, that way it's the most liberal city, the most liberal area of all of Texas. Generally, Texas as a state is very conservative, but the city of Austin is very liberal, and you have a lot of people down there enjoying life, right? You have a lot of people down there with their melting pots. It's a melting pot of cultures, and they're all enjoying life, especially when it comes to South by Southwest. They're all having fun. Now, we're gonna be talking about the small town Central Texas area. So we just spoke about Austin, the pros and cons very briefly. And again, this is a very quick, because we're not really going in depth. These are just very quick comparisons, because if not, we'd stay here for a few hours. Small town Central Texas. It's slower, simpler, but it's still awesome. The charming town surrounding Austin. So if you crave peace, space, and a tight-knit vibe, then this is your lane. So living outside of Austin in the Central Texas area, you're gonna have a pro, which is lower cost of living. You'll get way more house for your money, and property taxes tend to be a little easier to handle. In other words, property taxes are gonna be cheaper in the area outside of Austin. Like I said previously, you could buy a $1 million home in Austin, but if you come out to the Temple area, to Salado, you go out to the outskirts of Georgetown, or even Round Rock or Leander, $1 million can definitely get you way more than what you would get in the city. So that's also something to think about. However, living in small towns, to be honest with you, unless you have remote work or healthcare, teaching, or trades, job choices can be narrow. And this is true, especially when you come up to the smaller cities, the smaller towns, you're going to have people that normally travel. Like, for example, in the Killeen Temple area, you're going to have a lot of people that travel to Austin because that's where they work, but they'd rather live up here simply because living up here is a lot cheaper. So you may be limited in those job opportunities living in small cities. Another pro would be that it's a slower pace of life. So you have less stress, more sunsets, and life moves a little bit slower up here. And that's the beauty of it, right? If we can't get to it today, we'll get to it tomorrow. Not in the big city. In the big city is always rush, rush, rush. A little con would be that the nightlife and culture, don't expect live shows every night or a rotating list of pop-up restaurants. And that's true. When you come out here to the smaller cities, there's just so much that happens every so often, right? So it's not more habitual. like you would on a weekly basis or even on a daily basis in some areas in Austin, where you can have entertainment, you can go to different restaurants, you can do many things. When you're moving to the outskirts, you're going to be limited in certain restaurants, right? And then there just comes a point where you kind of already did everything in the small town, so you need to kind of drive to Austin. So that may be a little con of living in the Central Texas area. The pro of living in the Central Texas outside of Austin would be you have access to nature. The hill country is your backyard, perfect for weekend hikes, fishing trips, or just unplugging. Sometimes the stress of life can get to you and you just want to go out there and boat, you want to fish, you want to go hunting. That's a benefit that Central Texas and the outside of Austin offers. However, healthcare gaps. Some areas face doctor shortages, especially for specialists that you might need to drive for care. Especially in the market of Killeen and Temple, if you're living in Killeen or around Killeen, a lot of times if they're going to do major operations, and depending on what you have, you're going to be sent to Temple. So Temple is usually about, depending where you are in Killeen or depending on the other little towns or cities outside of Killeen, if you get sent to the Temple area, then it's going to take you a 25 to 45 minute drive. And why is that? Because in the Temple area, you have all the major hospitals. You have Baylor Scott and White, McLean's Children's Hospital, where they take care of children. You also have the VA there for the veterans. You're always going to have to, not always, but if you're going to have a certain specialist, you may get thrown to go to Temple. Number 4, living in this area, you're going to have a quieter environment. So say goodbye to the sirens and city noise. Hello, crickets, stars, and peace. And this is the reality. When you're living outside the Austin area, you're not going to be hearing the police like you normally would, with the sirens all over, or ambulances or the fire trucks. It's more calm, it's more tranquil. Well, as you see behind me here, we're outside of the Austin area in a small city close to the Killeen Temple area. And look at, this is how it is. What you hear is what you get. Now, the only bad thing about living outside of the Austin area is con number 4 is commute time to Austin. If you work in the city, be prepared for longer drives, though reverse commuting can be easier. Yeah. So when you're going down to the Austin area, a lot of people that buy further from Austin, whether it be north of Austin or south of Austin, what happens is if they have to travel to Austin, a lot of times there's a lot of traffic, right? Because people are going in. And not only is there traffic, but you're having to travel an hour and a half sometimes, depending on where you're going to Austin. That can also suck because in the mornings, you're going to have that traffic on I-35 because everybody's trying to get to work. But on the way back, you can take certain back roads that can also connect you to where you have to go, making commuting a little bit easier when you're coming back home. Another pro of living in the Central Texas area is that you have a close-knit community. And so these towns will still wave at each other, right? Yeah, and that's true. In other words, you're going to meet people here, and you're always going to have, in small towns, you're going to have families that have been around for generations, right? So pretty much everyone at some point gets to know everyone, but with obviously population growth, that kind of diminishes. But everyone in outside cities of Austin in the Central Texas area are usually more friendly. They always say hi, so Southern hospitality is real outside. The bad part, a con, would be that you have fewer amenities. You may not have a Whole Foods like you have in the big city about people wanting to buy Whole Foods, but we have HEBs, right? But that's not a problem because if you need variety and convenience, it might just take some adjustment. So like I said, in small towns, you're going to have some farmers markets, right? Which is even better because the food is organic. You're also going to have HEB, which is a very big shopping grocery store here in the state of Texas. Just in case you didn't know that, where if it's not from HEB, it's not worth buying it, in my opinion. Everything's fresh, everything's natural. So I think that's a very, very, very big thing. So now, concluding with you guys, seeing the pros and cons of Austin, seeing the pros and cons of living on the outskirts of the Austin area, what's the move? Are you looking for high energy Austin or peaceful hill country living? Well, it comes down to your lifestyle. So if you're a person that wants to be in the city, you want to be shaking and baking, you want to be making moves all the time, then maybe living in Austin may be the ideal place for you to live. But if you want to look at you want to work, but at the same time, once you want to work, you want to go home, you want to be in peace, you want to be stress free, you want to be a little bit more laid back, then maybe you may want to live in the hill country outside of the Austin metro area. So if you want job opportunities, entertainment, and constant activity, Austin delivers. But if you're craving more space, affordability, and community, small town Central Texas may be your sweet spot. So again, guys, thank you again for coming back to the Living in Central Texas channel. So if you have any comments, leave them below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified about everything that's going on here in the Living in Central Texas channel in the Central Texas area. But at the same time, if you're looking to make your move to or from the clean Temple, Texas area or anywhere in Central Texas, shoot us a call, send us a text, send us an email, or better yet, jump on a Zoom call. We have the information down below in the link, and we'll be talking to you soon. Take care. God bless.